What is up, guys? So in today's training range take, I was watching this TikTok video earlier where this creator was playing Lucio, and her team was yelling at her to swap off Lucio, and she's like, no, and she ended up carrying them, and they ended up winning, and that's not what I want to comment on. But there was this comment that started a discussion between me and some other people in the comments, and I kind of want to talk about that. So let's actually read the comment that started it all. This person says, low elo players complain about Lucio because they don't know how to play with him. They want a Kiri who can Suzu their bad positioning and will blame Lucio for their mistakes. Meanwhile, Lucio is almost consistently meta because he can bring an insane amount of value when you play with him. So, I partially agree and I partially disagree, right? The very first thing is you need to understand what rank or elo you're actually playing in or playing with. If you're in a plat game, people are going to position like plat players. So a lot of players, especially in lower elos, do not have that ability to switch off and, oh, we're playing a lower sustain comp, I need to position better, right? And part of that is on them, right? They peek down corridors where, you know, the Lucio's not going to sustain you through that, but part of that is also on you for being on Lucio in the first place, and I get it. But that's what makes some, like, heroes like Lucio and Zen harder to run in those low elos, is that they don't understand a position. This is similarly as to why people in plat or gold will have higher healing numbers than people who are in top 500. Even when you are playing Ana, sometimes there's just nothing to heal, right? However, that does not take away the innate value of Ana, of having high sustain, sleep, and anti. Similarly, that means that in a lot of scenarios, it makes a lot of sense. They're going to mess up. They're going to be in a bad position. Actually, take that back. I wouldn't say a bad position. They're going to be in a plat position, which is, yeah, it's a bad position, but they're plat. It's a position that people are going to be in because, well, it's plat. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But you need to understand that. And, you know, it's a two-way street. And this is partially where we get to the I disagree with part, right? Oftentimes, right, due to them being in plat, the Lucio player is also a plat player because, you know, he's not playing Lucio in the correct way most of the times. He won't speed in, he won't speed out. So even when in scenarios where it's like, oh, play with the Lucio, there's nothing to play with because he's not speeding us in. So it'd make more sense for him to be on something else where I would get the higher sustain and I would get Suzu, because Suzu is not just for being in a bad position. Suzu is also for helping when I'm antied or slept, because you don't have to be in a bad position to get antied or slept, right? You just get antied and then you Suzu out of it. It's not a big deal. It just happens sometimes, right? So there are a lot of scenarios where, you know, the Lucio player is equally as bad as the rest of the team, and he also is a plat player in a lot of those low elos where he doesn't know how to utilize Lucio's strengths in the right way. Lucio's strength is through his speed, and oftentimes they're playing him more like other supports where he is for healing. And if you're just going to heal on Lucio, you should probably get off of Lucio and play something like Ana or Kiriko, who will bring a lot more value to the board anyway, right? And I said this, that it's a two-way street, and somebody commented saying that you're just assuming that the Lucio is bad. And I'm not assuming that he's bad, right? I know he's bad. It's a low elo game. The Lucio doesn't know how to play just as equally as the other players don't know how to position, right? They don't know how to position. Lucio doesn't know when to speed and when not to speed, right? So if you're finishing the game as Lucio with like 16,000 healing, I don't think that you're speeding as much as you should be on Lucio. And more accurately, I don't think that you're playing him to his strengths and to his weaknesses and stuff like that. In that scenario, it would make a lot more sense for you to be on another support. This is sort of another thing that I wanted to bring up, is that with support, tank, and even DPS, you need to play to the game that you are actively in. Some people will try to pick up heroes. How do I put it? Some people will play heroes that aren't exactly within the comp's best interest, right? So they'll try to run a Lucio, and it's like, this is a poke comp, or we're on defense, we don't need speed. You have to understand that. Or even in a lot of scenarios, you know, hey, we're in bronze or we're in plat, right? A Lucio maybe isn't super effective here, right? Maybe it would make more sense to just play Ana or Kiriko to help out the team, right? To provide a lot more for the team in that scenario. The same thing applies with tanks, right? You wouldn't want to play Winston when your team is playing a poke comp, right? I see it all the time though, right? Like, you'll have a ball, and then you'll have a Genji, and then the rest of the team will be on poke. It's like, there'll be Sigma, and Ana, and Kiriko, and it's like, and Soldier, and Ashe, and it's like, what are you guys doing, right? It's either we all play dive, or we all play poke, or whatever. There can sometimes be value in having one of your players diving, right? So there can be value in running a Tracer in a poke-style comp, so she can take off angles and, flank, but if half the team is running one comp and the other half is running a different comp, it oftentimes makes it very difficult. Especially it makes it very difficult on the supports and anybody else who's trying to follow that, because it's like, well, do I dive with these people or do I poke with these people, right? It's always going to be a 3v6 on both fronts because these three people are diving and these three people are playing frontline. So you could just sort of pick them off as they come in, which is really difficult. So, yes, heroes like Winston are good picks and D.Va are good picks, but they're not a good pick when your team is playing poke. Same thing with Lucio. Yes, Lucio is a good hero to play, but the unfortunate reality is he's not good when your team is not playing dive or they're not playing with you. If you're speeding in and your team is not following up on your speeding in, right, you should probably switch, right? You will get more value being on that Suzu and just helping your team out. And I know it sounds harsh, and I know it's like, well, I just want to play Lucio. And sure, that's fine, right? But you need to have the conversation of saying, well, Lucio just isn't blanketly great like that, right? That's not how it works. Also, this guy did say that Lucio is consistently meta, and I did respond and say that Kiriko is consistently more meta than he is. Like, there are two great supports. Lucio's the second one, and Kiriko is the first one. So he's like, oh, you want me on Kiriko to Suzu? Yeah, Suzu's that good, and Kiriko's that good, right? Secondly, I also told him that Lucio has lost his spot in the meta to Juno because she's just straight up better than him. She also has speed, but she has more healing, she has more sustain, she has better abilities, and she has a better ult. So a lot of teams are running Kiriko Juno or Ana Juno, or they're basically replacing that Lucio with a Juno. So he's lost a lot of that value. So that's kind of what I generally wanted to talk about. So give me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.